Welcome to Very Honored Frater BT's Esoterinerd podcast, episode 12, in which I interview Lola Torgerson. But first, I wanted to wish you all a happy equinox, a happy Yom Kippur, a happy my birthday. There's a lot of things happening this time of year as we transition out of summer and into autumn. In Golden Dawn tradition, the basic mission statement is to find the middle way between extremes, same as the Buddhist way, that straight and narrow pathway, as we say. It's considered a very special day. The officers who conduct the ceremonies throughout the 6-month period are changed at each equinox. And so, just a few days ago, or a few days from now, depending on when exactly different temples are having their ceremonies, a Hierophant will lay down a scepter, and another Hierophant will pick up the scepter, continuing the tradition without draining any, one single person. Of course, I'm sure there's plenty of traditional Golden Dawn temples out there where the same person is putting down the Hierophant scepter and picking it up again. When the Hierophant, who will, for the next 6 months, represent basically the higher self or the perfected self of the candidates and those present, the Tiferet center made manifest as a human being, as in the examples of Jesus and Krishna and Osiris. One of the things that a traditional Golden Dawn Hierophant will do upon picking up the scepter is she or he will make a confession to the assembly. The confession will sound something like this. Fratres et sorores, seeing that the whole intention of the lower mysteries, or of external initiation, is by the intervention of the symbol, ceremonial, and sacrament, so to lead the soul that it may be withdrawn from the attraction of matter, and delivered from the absorption therein, whereby it walks in somnambulism, knowing not whence it cometh, nor whither it goeth, and seeing also that thus withdrawn, the soul by true direction must be brought to the study of divine things, that it may offer the only clean oblation and acceptable sacrifice, which is love expressed towards God, man, and the universe. Now, therefore, I confess and testify thereto from my throne in the east, and I promise, so far as in me lies, to lead you by the rites of this order, faithfully conserved and exhibited with becoming reverence, that through such love and sacrifice you may be prepared in due time for the greater mysteries, the supreme and inward initiation. Our guest tonight is another very old friend. I had initially asked her if I could interview her on an episode specifically about my mom, Soror Ashira, but I think I'm going to make that episode in the future. And if you knew her, especially if you knew her in the context of the temple, and if she touched your life in some way, please give me a call at 626-367-9254, or if you're good with Skype, contact me on Facebook or wherever else, and we'll set up a time to meet on Skype, and I'll record that and include that in that episode. But for now, we're going to be talking to Lola about Lola. So let's get to that interview, shall we? You have been found guilty of commerce with the devil. Greetings, Soror. Welcome to the Esoterinerd podcast.
Greetings, Frater.
When we first met was during my neophyte initiation.
I was still a Steve, and you and your mother, Soror Ashim, were being initiated.
Ashira.
Why do you always think Ashim for?
Well, the ascended ones. I think it's a good Freudian slip or a Jungian slip in this case. It's
You're right.
Some speculate that the Ashim or the fiery ones or the
Exactly.
choirs of Malkut are actually the third order.
Exactly. So I think Judy as far as Ashim. Oh
We'll
yes,
see what happens.
the initiation. Yes, the Fontana Temple.
Mm-hmm.
Temple of Isis, Mighty Mother. So Celestes.
I purify thee with water.
With water. Exactly.
And then, do you remember when they changed it? When my mom became Celestes? They brought in the Latin.
Yes, that's right, because they changed that over. That's right.
The very first intonation of Aspergus me Domine in a Golden Dawn temple was my mom as Celestes in spring of 1995.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's pretty sharp. Or maybe it was 96. That was 96. You moved in here in May of 96.
Uh-huh.
And
But
so
then
it
the
had to have
office changed
been
over.
September.
Yeah, because the office is in Equinox, like tomorrow. We'll change over.
Yeah, so it was exactly, what year is it? It was exactly 19 years ago. 19 years ago tomorrow was the first Aspergus intonation in a Golden Dawn Devil.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Yeah, so they did change that.
So we used to practice magic together. We used to do banishings and, go through our practicus material and go a little ahead of where we were supposed to go. I think I had the hexagram invocations. Were you there for the Klopothic middle pillar?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. I believe Matthew was part of this.
We'll just leave out his last name. He's surely listening to this. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Matthew.
He's being a priest somewhere in some denomination. I won't say more.
We won't say
Leave
anymore.
it at that.
But yes, I remember this very well. There was so much we did in that house that was just amazing. And I think we learned our lessons on a couple of things, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
We got kind of slapped a little bit and we're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Accusation of this podcast, fantastic. Good, because I curse a lot. Sorry. Yes, the Klopothic middle pillar. That was good times.
I thought of it more as a complete middle pillar, because it started with the highest divine name, like you're always supposed to, and then the archangel, the choir of angels, and then the planet, or the sphere that corresponds in Messiah, and then it just went down into the choir of demons and the archdevil and the Klopothic name.
Exactly. Well, that's what we talked about before we did it. Because we were like, well, this is going to be really...
This is totally rational.
Father M would probably frown on this. He probably did it at the same time. Back then, he was like, you guys, really?
Didn't we get like a power trip and then a headache or something?
I don't remember the aftermath of that, but I don't think it was good.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was quite a bit ago.
There was the time that we broke into the Sacred Heart. No, not Sacred Heart. Holy Cross. The one.
Holy Cross Cemetery.
The Hollywood Cemetery where they have the Bela Lugosi's grave and everything.
Bela Lugosi's buried there. Sharon Tate's buried there. Yes, I remember that well.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun times.
We did a photo shoot with Tiffany.
And when they had the other people coming from other states.
Yeah.
Power Week.
Yeah, in fact, one of those guys has already been on this podcast. I think he was there that night. Jeffrey, yeah.
Oh, right on.
And, the open graves and the Osrael
open graves,
invocations.
and we were walking around, and we were just like,
walking
you guys
around in the
stop
cemetery.
making the noises. Stop making the noises. We're like, no, someone's following us. No one's here.
Getting paranoid about security. I'm sure now they'd have motion sensor stuff, and I don't break into cemeteries anymore. But that was the 90s.
Well, actually, Lux Interior from the Cramps is buried there, so that's probably why they have much more security there as well, because of the people who want to party on his grave.
My mom's brother's son is buried in a mausoleum, the same mausoleum as Michael Jackson. So you have to get cleared through security to go visit my ancestors on that side of the family.
Wow. Oh wow!
Just to make sure you're not going to go in and try to steal his grave or whatever.
Well, steal his what? What could you actually do to Michael Jackson's
I don't know.
Steal in there.
Inappropriate
to be honest.
things. Yeah.
To be practical, inappropriate things probably, but what could you steal there, for fuck's sake? I'm just saying.
So what magic have you done since then, though? Because I remember all that stuff, but I don't know what's happened in the past 20 years.
So let's just say I've been eclectic. I've practiced some witchcraft as well.
Mm-hmm.
And do love my witchcraft.
Gardner?
Voodoo.
Oh, cool. Nice. Like Brazilian, New Orleans, African?
Haitian.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I haven't gotten into yet.
Yes. It's pretty lovely, but not fully into it as I want to be necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I'm definitely not an expert in any form of voodoo.
Well, I also thought it kind of not pulled different ways, but yes, pulled a little bit, as in you need to do this,
right.
you need to do that, and a lot of different things.
Well, there was a Haiti
here in the
thing
Pacific
going around
Northwest, we have this amazing occult community.
Yeah.
You would love it here. You should visit here. Everyone who's listening to this should visit here. So next Saturday, unfortunately, I can't go to because of work, is the Esoteric Book Conference. My friend Kadmar and Marcus are putting this on. And, yeah, they do all these amazing things, and so many awesome magicians and people, practitioners come and present their books, present their wares, and they talk about everything.
Nice.
Yes, it's fantastic. Up here is an amazing occult community. Because unfortunately I can't go during the day to the actual thing to work, but afterwards we're probably going to meet some people for drinks and food. And my friend Janelle, who I met last night, she was like, I'm going, and she's like, Lola, I'm going to take pictures of books for you, and I'll text them and say, do you want me to buy this for you? Yes, but, I've never completely left my ceremonial magic, ever.
You had the devotional candle to the Goetic... What was that?
Oh, that's a whole separate thing. No, that's not my ceremonial magic and everything.
It's not devotional. It's more of a sushi side.
Morgan
candle.
makes those amazing candles. Well, those aren't charged.
Oh, okay.
She sells charged ones.
But by names and images,
Well,
I don't have to tell you.
you don't have to tell me, right? But if you want them, I don't know if she charges extra for the charge. You have to ask her about that. So,
Yeah, it's like let me go do an S.
Somebody's got to become friends.
Let me do an SIRP before I light this, candle for our sushi dinner.
Oh,
protect us from the.
I'm like.
Got to evoke the appropriate Shem angel, read the appropriate psalm. We've got to make a whole thing out of it, basically turning dinner into a mass.
I have a question for you. How is the house?
The house is doing well. Yeah.
Good.
I guess since you were here, it caught on fire.
Saw that?
Yeah. The first temple, well, I had the temple that we were practicing in back in the day in the big part of the room here, where I'm sitting now, actually. And then so that, my mom kicked me out and, gave me money to get a place in East LA. And then she built, a full temple in here with, with the painting the ceiling black and the tile and the altars and everything. And then she passed away literally a few weeks later. And,
right.
So I moved back in and then I put up the curtains and I started having classes. And so that was basically, I initially started it kind of in her honor and, and then I of course it burned down and then we rebuilt it in a garage of this guy who was in practicus at the time in Monrovia. And, then he got evicted and he moved in with me and then there was no real temple, but we had the furniture in the spare room here that was your old room. And that was my great-great-great-grandmother's room at one point. And, and then at a certain point I just decided what the heck, and I arranged the furniture in there and then I started having classes again, and then I kept insisting that I wasn't reopening the sanctuary. For years I insisted I wasn't reopening the sanctuary, but I had weekly classes. And then they finally wanted to make it official and put it on the website that there was an LA sanctuary. And so I said, okay, on several conditions. I don't want to hear any shit from you guys about more people coming to my classes than come to the temple. I don't want to hear anything about how I conduct my classes. I don't want to. You're not going to get a schedule of classes. You're not going to get an outline of what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to be bringing in other stuff that isn't pure Golden Dawn. And they were like, okay, whatever. You know, because at that point I was a bit of a rock star and like things were falling apart and they were just trying to like, you know, keep people interested. And so, they made the mistake of making me a chief at that point. So at that point I'm like, oh, so I can give myself permission to break my oath. Great. Thanks for that. So, you know, so everything I've been doing since then is legit.
Was it really breaking your oath though?
No, it wasn't. Because when the split happened, there were some chiefs that interpreted that since they were chiefs, they should kick out. And then there were other chiefs that interpreted that since they were chiefs, they should stay with. And then there was me, and I invited everybody to come to my house, and so nobody came because they all hated the people on the other side. So I started inviting the public.
I mean, he was like really super worried about
Voldemort,
myself in the temple and some of us in the temple about leaking grade material to the OTO. Rigardi put the material out there how many damn years ago?
Right.
So how was it that they're infiltrating our stuff and looking for our grade material? They want their hands on this. They were not interested.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't really care, yeah.
No, they really don't. And I know people up here at OTO, and they're fantastic people. I like them lots and everything else. Just saying, they really don't care.
We have the Cliff Notes version of the Golden Dawn already. We learned that in kindergarten. Yeah.
Yes. But anyhow, tell me more about the house. Remember, we had that ghost there.
Oh, yeah, Sarah from the Glendale Adventist.
Was it Sarah? I thought we named her Wendy.
Maybe it was Wendy. Was she the one, she was in a coma, it turned out.
The one who would creak the floor?
Yeah, we got the Ouija board out, and it was here in the north, and she, well, I mean, the way I remember it, she had said that she was at Glendale Adventist, she was unconscious, and
I think so.
The north part of the temple that we were working in every day was the coziest, like, place astrally, physically to hide, and so that's where she was.
Yes, she liked to be unless she would creak the floor. Yes, and Mr. Father, didn't believe us. And remember the key episode, his keys, and he brought up one of his kids.
Oh, right.
One time. Yes, and he was like, okay, so Wendy, where's my keys? They're in the house here. One creak means yes. They were in his pocket the whole time as he was looking for his keys.
Wow.
Anyways, yes.
I'd forgotten about that part.
Yeah, fun ghost story from the past.
Yeah. That was probably August of '96. Yeah. Oh, that was the night we did the Ishtar work.
Oh, yes, that was around our Ishtar work, definitely.
Yeah.
From Ka.
Yeah.
Better. Oh.
Yeah. Did you see the Ka interview?
No, I did
Oh, yeah,
not.
check it out. It's like a 2-hour interview with Frater Ka. He's in the Philippines and has 4 kids, and he's married.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
Okay.
But he's still
That's
doing
awesome,
his thing.
though.
He's invoking the spirits, like the shamanic, well, I mean, I call it that, but he's invoking the angelic spirits of stars now. And so he's doing a seminar where he's teaching people how to invoke the angelic spirits of the oldest 33 stars. And so he and I had an interesting debate about black holes and the nature of life and death and the bias of the multicellular organism, like maybe stars don't care that they're dying,
That's amazing argument. Well, I remember from Fred Carl, he always did like invoking, his angelic orders.
Yeah.
His guided meditations in the temple with the angelic orders were always just, that was definitely his thing.
I don't remember that as much. I think you had more of those classes than I did.
I think I did, yeah.
I think
it was before you were there.
Angelic orders?
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
So in like a pathworking context, you go into Malkut and work with the Ashim?
Uh-huh. Pathworking all the way up and everything. Yeah, that was definitely one of the things he really liked to lead into.
I should have him lead a pathworking for the Esoterinerd podcast. I love doing
pathworking. You should. And tell him I said hi.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, hopefully he'll hear this. The Ciceros came over and did a Tree of Life pathworking with us one time.
Who did?
The Chick and Sandra Tabitha Cicero.
Oh, I love them. You know what? I'm Facebook friends with them, and Chick sends me Candy Crush requests almost every day. He is a mad Candy Crush player.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, so I love seeing their posts and everything, but yes, I get Candy Crush requests all the time. It's like, yes, I will send you live when I'm on, because I rarely play online, like Candy Crush. It's just one of those things
Yeah. You remember Sanctuary of Oriel, later Temple of Oriel? In
yeah, we're
Georgia?
Facebook friends now.
Yeah.
Georgia.
He was sitting as Malkut. So he was sitting in a chair, and we had a big painted Malkut circle under him. And we had all kinds of Malkut stuff going on, and he called it Malkut, and so then you remember the blonde, tall blonde?
Yes,
dancer?
I do.
Yeah, she was Yesod, so she was wearing a purple dress, and she had an incense, and she gave the blessing of. This is all from directed by the Ciceros, written and directed by the Ciceros, as enacted by members of our temple. And so then I was hoed, and so they had me sitting in a chair in an orange, robe with like glasses, and like I was a professor, and a stack of books next to me, and then Tabitha was Netzach, so she had a red rose, and she was wearing a green robe, and so her whole thing was to walk across the frickin' path of pay to me and chastise me, like in real life, for being so mercurial, and tell me that I need to come out of my head and join the rest of the world, And it was so great. It was so I have this fantastic memory of Tabitha Cicero in a green dress holding a red rose, like slapping me across the face in my memory anyway, and telling me to get out of my head. Yeah.
I love this.
It was a lot of fun. and then when you get to the end,
out of you with that rose.
when you get to the very end, you get up to Keter, and there's just a little box with a curtain around it, and then you open the curtain and you like peek through, and Chick Cicero's there, and he says, "Behold, the face of God," and you look through the curtain, and it's a mirror, so you see yourself and Chick. And so everybody would come out of it going, so the face of God is me and Chick. It was really fun. Oh, man. So, yeah, there's all kinds of ways to pathwork the Tree of Life. So I'd like to get I wanted to say Mimo, but I guess that's the name his mom gave him.
Yeah, Mimo. Yes, Frater Ka. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit her up with that, because he's big on the angelic.
I have my version of a Tree of Life pathworking. I pathworked. I have my own very vivid memories of experiences like beyond Tiferet, but I was always, since I was a good boy, I was the premonstrator and all that, so I would pathwork people up to the Veil, like up to those 3 paths leading up to Tiferet, but not all the way through and not past Tiferet. Except for Chris O'Malley, I'd let him go. I pathworked him all the way up the tree. But
Chris O'Malley, oh my God.
You remember him?
Hysterical. I remember Chris O'Malley.
Oh, of course you remember Chris O'Malley.
Well, see, I didn't quite make that up in the order, but of course I read.
Oh, of course. Well, and there's self-initiation. I mean, I'm a big believer in, I came out and said, hey, anybody who's a self-initiate out there is my frater or my soror, and that was 14 years ago. I have been a strong proponent of someone who's sincere. Basically, I think that someone who very sincerely self-initiates is more of an initiate than someone who just kind of goes through the ceremony with their eyebrows all furrowed, going, "This is weird,"
Yes.
and then frowns at the Hieros, and goes, "Well, fuck that guy," and then looks at the Hierophant and says, "Well, who says?" And then leaves the temple and never comes back. Like, which one is initiated? So, and who initiated Chick?
I was talking about a friend of mine too, and so about that. Yes, if you can tap into the current yourself, then you're initiated.
Absolutely.
I think so as well. A good friend of mine and I, anyways, were talking about this whole thing. Anyways, they're a Jewish scholar, and they've been all around pretty much everything. They're on Facebook, so they will never hear this. But they're fantastic, knowledgeable, and everything else. And they kind of believe in a little more of the, well, here's kind of the tradition. They put it in kind of tradition as like a threefold stool. Okay, there's like a tension that one person, one tradition holds, one part of the tradition holds this, one part of the tradition holds that, the third. So it creates a tension to hold the stool to, lift everybody up.
Right.
And so I was questioning them. I was like, okay, no, I get this, and I'm not against tradition whatsoever. But I'm like, if you can tap into that current, then you do it.
Yeah.
Definitely my belief. So.
Yeah, some of my strongest, like, meditative experiences or that kind of thing, I'll end up flashing back to experiences I had in the crib. It's like the more in touch with the deep current behind something you get, it seems like the more universal it is. If there's anything there to find at all. Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah. It's like if truth is truth, then the rest is decoration.
Mm. No, that's good. I like this.
So, do you have any magical tools, or do you practice, or what are you up to?
Yes, I do. Actually, like I said, I'm a little eclectic now. Mm-hmm. Place is kind of sacred to Pan and the Hierophant.
Oh, very nice.
Much libation given to them, and much tribute given to them as well. That's one of the things that I do now. Like I said, there's amazing occultists here that I'm always, every day, learning from them, hearing them about different things. And there's an occult group up here called the Illuminati, Pacific Northwest Illuminati. Mm-hmm. And jokingly, called. But it's basically a bunch of people meet, and wherever you're at, doesn't matter, you meet. And you talk, and you exchange ideas, present yourself and what you do and these kind of things. And I think it's really healthy for the occult community.
Don't sue me, Madonna.
Huh?
Because I'm going to start playing that Illuminati song in the background right now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Everyone's, like I said, everyone's welcome. Satanists, everybody.
Christians?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. People who have open minds.
Right.
So my friends, Eric and Marcus, who I said, they have a podcast as well. Mm-hmm. Yes, so they're part of that. And I've seen them as well.
Oh, cool,
yeah,
cool.
Uh-huh.
So we should get, shout out to those guys. We should get them on the Esoterinerd. And I've also got someone, Ella Jensen, I guess she's in Sweden, and she does a podcast called Stooping Starlight that's specifically for female thelemites. And so she was interested and responded to my post about getting more female esoterinerds on my podcast because of the 9-to-1 ratio. I didn't want it to become a podcast of like the good old boys, like old fashioned, back when it was just boys, cause if it's going to be based in Golden Dawn.
Boys and the 8 ham and all these other.
Yeah, if it's going to be Golden Dawn based,
people talked about the Golden Dawn back then. Yes,
there's women of the Golden Dawn.
Remember those old flyers that went around? Did you see those?
Yeah, I still have a lot of them.
During the Golden Dawn, you get fat and drunk and blah 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 and everything.
Yeah, there'd be like a sign that says, initiation that way, status quo that way.
Yes. Oh God. Oh, too funny. I remember those very well.
And we'd have to go out and put them in books. Be like, hey, can you go out and party tonight, Edward? Nah. Oh, why not?
Flyering.
Never mind. Because I have to go to Santa Monica and put fucking flyers in every fucking book. Someone's going to check later and make sure I did it.
I know we probably edited, if I can ask you, is the still around? What?
He is now the chief adept of the Order of the Golden Dawn Universum.
Oh, fantastic.
No longer affiliated with I stayed till the bitter fucking end when he finally declared independence from and then after that I was like, okay, well there isn't really much for me to do anymore. And then when he started saying, okay, we're going to start having weekly meetings again, I was like, okay, this is where I've got to bow out because I've already wasted 18 and a half years of my life and I have other shit to do, and so we just worked it out where we very gracefully, like in the ceremony, in the equinox ceremony in 2013 spring, and everybody wished me well, and then I took off my blue, permastrator cloak and gave it to Todd. You remember Todd? You might not have met
I do.
Todd. Oh, you do know Todd.
Wow.
Yeah, and he took that on, and I passed it on to him, and then that was the last time I went there.
Wow.
Is a true believer, so whatever OGDU becomes will be a true believer's Golden Dawn Temple. And that'll be interesting to watch. The Collegium Spiritum Sanctum is a bunch of rational people who went on to become imperators of their own temples in a loosely knit network of temples. And that's awesome. And they have a constitution and everything. And they all signed it. And it's like, wow, you guys are cool. They fully enacted the American Revolution in the context of the order after we had 28 adepts, and so 23 of them left and founded the new order with 3 of the 5 chiefs.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
Yeah. They took all the temples and half of ISIS.
I love the current, without a doubt. Yeah. But I got so much else going on too. I definitely do want to, but there's just so much going on as well.
Oh yeah. No, I recommend not being involved in cults. But I mean, I'm much more, rather than promoting the joining of cults and the losing of one's life in them, I'm hoping that people can learn from my experience and maybe just learn the things from this podcast that they would have otherwise had to join some cult to learn. Or, I can at least point them to the search keywords, or maybe they weren't, there's things that are coming up on the podcast that maybe people didn't even know that they would be interested in, maybe they didn't know there was Arabian magic until they met Frater Ka in the last episode, for instance. And they didn't know that there was that guy in South Africa starting basically a new religion based on the Bantu voodoo and Gnosticism and Buddhism and a bunch of other influences. And I mean,
ooh, that's good.
Yeah, I know. I definitely want to visit that guy when I'm down there.
Oh, well, damn. Well, one side note is on Facebook.
He is, but he hasn't accepted my friend request. But I can give you an email address that,
okay, yeah,
uses.
If you would, because I would love to be in touch with him again.
Yeah.
He was actually a really big influence in my life as well.
Yeah, Dylan, we can call him. I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, he was really, like I said, he has very much Zen about him, so much.
Yeah.
I'm not using that word loosely.
Yeah.
He was just so all right, this is what you did, magic-wise, Miss Lola. This is what came out of it. What do you actually want to come out of it?
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. This makes absolute sense. And, he really broke things down in such a simple sense for me.
Yeah.
And for everybody else, that most complicated things, and we're like, oh, okay. I'm so happy that I got to talk to you.
Me too.
For forever. And eventually I'm going to come out there to visit. I would love to visit you and your wife, meet Miss Cheney, and see the house again and see some of these people.
That'll be great.
As we all know, you're going to know, some of the things about the and everything else. But I'm glad that that whole part of it's over.
Yeah.
Completely. And
yeah.
We all learned a lot. From that.
If they look serious and back toward the door, then they've heard the story.
Right. I'm like, no. It's cool. It's totally cool now. I'm way away from that.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very edifying, and would love to do one of these again.
Let's do another one later about Soror A, maybe, when I'm doing
Definitely.
that. Because I was thinking about maybe even asking if I could ask her a little bit about it.
I was just thinking about her as well. About that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to take any more pictures of that house,
oh yeah,
the temple and everything, send it to me. I would love to see that, because that is just an awesome place.
Yeah.
Except your weather there sucks.
Yeah, the weather does suck. Thank you very much for talking to me on the podcast tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll definitely
all right,
talk
love
again
and light.
Soon. Love and light. 770.
770.
Thank you, Lola, for coming on the Esoterinerd podcast. Thank you to Camille and Kennerly for the beautiful harp transitions. Thank you to the monks. Oh, and from last episode, episode 11, during the traditional Golden Dawn temples I didn't know about before segment, I played a track from Golden Dawn LVX. Does anybody know who those guys are, or how I can contact them to thank them, or maybe get permission to play a whole track here on the Esoterinerd, something like that? Let me know. Thanks, of course, to Madonna. I'm happy to say the Esoterinerd podcast is kind of blowing up a bit. We have some great interviews lined up. Another kindred spirit in Orlando, Florida, named Kate. Season up in Oregon is coming on. Venus from Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. Jeff Trosper is going to be coming on here to discuss Andrew de Pisano. Jeff has been referred to me as being the most knowledgeable person about Andrew, and so I'm looking forward to that. Isis Aquarian is going to be on here soon. We've also got William Kiesel, who publishes the Picatrix, or Book M, wink wink, for those of you in the know about that. And we've also got Julia, the Hierophantria of the temple in Colorado, who's past Hierophant and Premonstrator we spoke to in the previous episode. So, much to look forward to. Since Lola told us a lot about what's going on in the esoteric community up in Seattle, I thought it might be appropriate to close with a piece from our friends over at Dharma Sound. Jyoti was the interviewee on To Be a Yogi, which is a sister podcast to this Esoterinerd podcast. They are a kirtan band, so if you like practicing yoga and chanting and meditating and being around all that, we'll give you a sample of what it sounds like in a minute. But if you're in the Seattle area, next Saturday, October 3rd, check out Phoenix Rising Books in Port Townsend, 7 p.m. Dharma Sound will be there. You can find Dharma Sound on Facebook. And so, if you're not driving, find a comfortable position, meditative position, Virasana, Vajrasana, Padmasana, Sukhasana, whatever you're into. Relaxing shoulders down, finding a long, tall spine. Close your eyes and listen to this.
Sarva